risks that businesses should be preparing for from a cybersecurity perspective. So at Omdia, we ran a security decision maker survey during the second quarter of this year, and we asked the question about kind of what are the biggest issues facing the security function. I was really expecting ransomware or maybe the skills shortage to come top, and they were both a very close joint second, but what came top was the security function having to support the digitally transformative projects that organisations are doing. It's a clear leader there, and I think the message that this gives out from a risk perspective is that we really need to make sure that we are including the security function in our planning for all of these digital projects. We're not very good at it today, and we need to be improving on that for sure. So I think really the organisation needs to take more notice of risk, and the security function needs to make itself better known in the organisation to be able to help support with that risk.
So the latest trends we're seeing in cloud security today are, let me start with quoting what we saw in a couple of our survey findings that we did in very close collaboration with Doc Reading and Omdia Decision Maker, is today it's not the point where we ask the question if the organizations are going to be moving to cloud. Instead, it's about when do you think your organization data or organization workload would have maximum presence in the cloud. And to that point, from the numbers perspective, let me quote that it's about 45% of organizations said by the end of the year 2022 they would have a majority of their workloads moved to cloud. What this explains is the trends are going great, cloud security is there, this is it, but there's something that's holding us back, and two themes pop up from this. First is about there are contradicting beliefs in the people. People work in organization, and every person has an opinion, has a belief, which sometimes contradicts, and that's leading to holding them back from the decision making. And the second thing was about the concerns they're having that they need to address when they're making this decision from an organization basis. And no surprise here, but the top concerns that they have today when it comes to cloud transformation, digital transformation, and there is security. So 2 out of every 3 organizations today say that security is their top of mind concern, followed by cost and security functionality. And I leave the thought here that these are the key concerns that we are seeing and listening from the customers and the vendors.
So in a nutshell, why is XDR the enterprise's best hope to fight cybersecurity issues? Well, frankly, the existing SIM and SOAR-based SOC architectures that many enterprises have known for years and years have largely underperformed. If you have a large security organization and you have a large budget for a lot of staff, then you can manage and configure those systems in very intricate ways, and they work well. But for the majority of organizations, it's just too complicated. XDR largely simplifies that process in a variety of ways by taking data directly from the IT estate regions like endpoint, network, and cloud, managing the threat detection, investigation, and remediation response lifecycle holistically in a single workspace, and then deploying remediations directly back to those IT estate regions, simplifying, streamlining, and helping make TDIR more accurate and effective for a large variety of enterprises.
So some of the key challenges that we're seeing in cybersecurity, particularly among the CISO community, is how to best align the platforms and tools with the services that go around them. So some of the key challenges we're seeing from surveys we've done are effective incident response, actually securing new technologies and platforms and using them to the fullest potential possible within complex environments and organizations. Another concern that's emerging is budget constraints. So when I talk to CISOs, it's clear that even though budgets are increasing, they would argue they're not increasing fast enough. Now, something that's fantastic about this event is that we have the best of both, right? We have service providers here who have complex and mature managed services and professional services and consulting, and we also have such rapid advancements in tools and platforms. And so one of the things I'm really excited to see as well from this conference is how, in the context of these challenges organisations have, how these providers are all working together to help solve some of these problems.
So I think that the IoT definitely can be utilised in a lot of industries. It can increase efficiency. That's one of its main goals. But there definitely is an enlarged attack surface. Security is the number one issue for people deploying IoT, and if there's a security issue, sometimes then it can make the IoT deployment unsuccessful. And that's obviously not what organisations want. Whether or not they understand the issues and whether they address this attack surface is a different question. We just recently did a survey in May, just gone for this conference, and one of the stats was 20% of organisations don't have an asset inventory, so they straight up said that they don't have one, and this is end users and their cybersecurity decision makers. So it's definitely something that is an issue, it needs to be addressed, and I think about understanding what this can actually bring about. I mean, the IoT have so many vulnerabilities, and it's just a way into the network and just another thing that needs to be looked at. And I just think it has some work to be done, but there's a lot of kind of technology out there and a lot of vendors that are going into the IoT space to kind of raise awareness and try and fix this issue.
I think that the topic of evolution of ransomware and the topic of response is super interesting, and we've been tracking it for a while. People usually think of ransomware initially as, hey, we're this little annoying malware that would encrypt something on your laptop and you'd pay $300 and you'd be done. No. The industry has absolutely moved. First of all, it is an industry. And second, they've moved into what we prefer to call, it's not ransomware, it's a multi-stage extortion campaign. Right? What that means for organizations is that the response to that organization has to be very proactive, and the response to that organization is really at different levels. At the technical level, yes, there are technologies you're going to deploy to help you protect yourself and then potentially respond. But even more important than that, at the organizational level, you have to have the right processes in place, communications plans, response plans, etc., with your senior executives, with counsel, with PR firms, etc., etc., etc. So absolutely we have evolved beyond the basics of simple encryption, and the proactive response happens at the technical level and at the organizational business level.
The question of how far we are from the ultimate stage of cybersecurity maturity is an interesting one, because in the ultimate stage, every employee would be not just not acting against security interests, but actively promoting them. In so far too many organizations, they're still at a stage where the culture of the organization is one that devalues security, because it sees security as something that is opposed to productivity. What they need to do is change the culture of that organization through both positive cultural action and training to make sure that the cybersecurity efforts support productivity rather than working against it. We're a long way from that, but companies are beginning to see how important it is to act in the interests of both security and productivity. Now, one of the things that many companies are still overlooking is how their younger employees use the internet and use digital media. I think that they need to work harder at meeting those employees where they are in their device usage and in internet usage as a whole. It's a whole big shift, and it's one that companies are beginning to make, but it's still a long road.
Yeah, the vulnerability management market has really evolved in the last 5 years or so. It's moved from a really kind of mature and established market to one that's really much more dynamic, with risk-based approaches taking over much of the market.
Yeah, now is the time to get rid of the password, but I would put a sort of caveat around that. I mean, people have been sort of saying the death knell of passwords since about 2004. Even the great Bill Gates said that he thought passwords would become a thing of the past back in 2004 at RSA. So wise people have got this wrong, but yes, I would say there are lots of good technologies out there that can improve the situation. Stuff like a better user experience, reducing costs as well. But you've also got to look at the flip side of starting a new passwordless authentication technology. So you've got the training and development that's required for that as well. There can also be a single point of failure with passwordless authentication technologies like one-time passwords. If a phone is stolen or upgraded or lost, then that can become an issue as well.
So this is my first Black Hat USA, and my highlights for 2022 have been, I have to say, number one, the Omdia Analyst Summit on Summit Tuesday. It was absolutely fantastic. The Omdia team really put a fantastic show on and surfaced our research, and it was absolutely brilliant. So really enjoyed that. The second thing that I would say is kind of this proactive security that we've been talking about at Omdia for a few months now, and this is all about reducing the attack surface, and there's lots and lots of discussions that we've had as analysts about how the attack surface can be reduced, whether that's proactively, risk-based vulnerability management, perhaps application security, shifting left, those kind of things. So that would be my second one, and the third one would be that bit that I've just mentioned, I suppose, application security. That's a really hot topic here this week. DevSecOps, shifting left, and all that kind of stuff is, I think, is a big takeaway for me. So it's been a fantastic Black Hat USA 2022.